Welcome to the Recovery Evolution podcast, where people in abstinent-based recovery share their strength, hope and experience, whilst also sharing the soundtrack to their lives, the music and songs that accompany them on their life and recovery journey. Recovery Evolution, the recovery revolution. Keep an open mind.
Welcome to another East Coast Recovery podcast. My name's Lester Morse and I'm here as usual with Matt Coe on sound. And we've invited a friend of ours and an ex-client. Well, can I describe her? She's a boxing champion, scuba diver, all-round hot chick with a punch. Hannah McNally!
Even more nervous now. Oh, hello.
Well done, Anna. Well, we like to do these little short podcasts just to put out about people in recovery, people doing successful recovery, and so you winning your boxing belt, very proud of you. Well done, Congratulations.
Thank you.
But you know you've worked hard to get there, so we want to sort of the idea of the podcast is sort of to go back to the beginning of your life, and then we've got 25 minutes to work through to where we are now, but it'd be nice to just to hear a little bit about your past and where you come from, where you grew up, and what your kind of life was like as a child.
Okay. Obviously, I was from a dysfunctional family, but I was a generally happy child. I had good grades. I had friends, but I didn't. I just always had a sense that everyone else knew something that I didn't. That's the only way I can describe it in my very early age.
That was your main thing, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone else knew what was going on.
Could you sort of say that you sort of had a feeling that you kind of didn't belong, or you're in the wrong family, or something like that, or? No,
it was just an underlying sense of people know shit and I don't.
There's something missing.
Yeah, about life. There's even a picture of me in a photograph, and it was a school uniform day. And everyone had to go to the uniforms, and somehow I was supposed to know this, or my parents were supposed to know it, and I went in a big pink and black check shirt, and they put me slap bang in the middle of the picture, and all the parents complained. It was like...
What about your shirt?
Yeah, I ruined the whole school picture. This was in primary school.
And that was the beginning of the end.
I was really fat and ginger as well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't. To be fair, I don't remember a lot of my childhood. There were good times, and there was bad times. There was a lot of alcohol.
From you or your family?
From my family.
Alcoholically, or
my
just...
My nana and my granddad were alcoholics. My granddad eventually died of pancreas cancer. My nana eventually had to have her foot chopped off, and that's when she stopped drinking, which is about when she was about 80. But she only stopped drinking because she was in a wheelchair and she couldn't get to the offie. Yeah. And my mum is possibly got everything an alcoholic has got apart from the allergy, because she can function.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't drink that much anymore. He's a whiskey drinker. He's half Irish, and he's you know, they were dysfunctional together, separate.
You mean so there's a lot of arguing and
a lot of
like
arguing, a lot of violence,
a lot of instability.
Yeah.
Insecurity.
Yeah.
And you said domestic violence.
Yes.
Any of that come towards you?
Yes.
Directly.
Yeah. Yeah. But to be fair, around the age of 11, when I started using acid, and a lot of acid, I rebelled mainly against the family unit. So I was taking acid and being like, fuck conform, excuse my language. I knew this was going to happen.
Fine.
But like, I didn't want to conform. I repelled against that unit, the family unit. I was anti the family unit. I was like, that's how I ended up sort of being a new age traveller and living on the street, because I rebelled against what I saw was a family unit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because what your family was, you just obviously you knew it wasn't right, knew you didn't want it, and probably know people should be in it, but that was coming from your perception.
And I turned violent. I was really, really violent as well. Heavily violent from about the age of 11. My dad always says I turned into a demon when I hit 11.
So who got you into acid at 11? It can't be hard for an 11-year-old to get hold of acid.
A woman up the street, my best friend, they were older than me. It's my best friend's mum, and she gave me, I think, for my 15th birthday, was it, 20 acid. She was like a hippie.
But she was giving it you at 11?
Yeah.
What, you weren't nicking it off her, she was giving it to you?
No, she used to give us it. We used to sit in her house.
What, and her daughter?
Her daughter and her mum.
Oh, and the mum would give her 11-year-old daughter acid?
When we hit about 14, 15, she'd give us. She gave me acid for my 15th birthday.
But you started taking it at 11?
Yeah.
So how did that come about? How did you start taking acid?
I started doing the old drinking the cider with the big kids down the beck, which was like a little rivery thing, wherever, Bulmer Special Reserve. I'm sure there's people out there that know what I'm talking about. £1.29 a bottle, 7%. Yeah. So it started with that, and then weed. And to be fair, when I look back at it, I sought out, and I did this the whole way through my addiction, bigger, more exciting gangs of people. So I sought that out.
But it's quite a common theme that even like people that come from sort of more middle classy, nicer backgrounds, that as soon as that addiction triggered in them, they all of a sudden had a fascination with smoking and people doing not good things.
No, I used to do witchcraft and all crazy stuff. I had purple hair. There's a picture of me in my photo album, and I'm 11. I'm on acid, and I've got black dyed hair, and I'm sitting like this. And I look like something from the horror film The Grudge.
Yeah. And you say then you sort of become a New Age traveller. What age was that?
Well, I left home when I was 15, and I used to say it was a big argument. Happened with my dad one night. My mum had an affair and twice with his brother, and they were drunk, and I woke up to my dad beating her up, and I stabbed him because I thought he was going to kill us. And after that, I had to leave. But looking back, really, I really just wanted to leave to take drugs.
Yeah, still pretty traumatic though, isn't it?
But I guess
you're pretty traumatised as a person by then.
Possibly, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
But I think from an early age, my brain was hardwired to deal with any emotion, firstly through not letting it out or letting it out of anger, and then through substance. And then my substance abuse continued for 22 years.
Yeah. So
22 years later, I'm like, fucking hell, how would you be a human being?
Well, give us some idea, of your life in that 22 years.
Oh, well...
What were you doing?
I used to think... I used to look back when I was early recovery and think there were some good times, but now when I look at them good times, they were just good times compared to the worst times.
Oh, just better than worse.
Yeah.
Just better than worse times.
Yeah.
Well, then, because if you were taking acid at 11 years old, I mean, the obvious question is, what happened to your schooling?
I got expelled.
At what age?
4th year.
4th year of high school?
But I used to take acid at school and give it to people at school.
Give or sell it?
Give it. I thought I was doing them a favour. I thought everyone wanted to be like me. I thought everyone wanted...
So you got expelled from school at
I got
4th
expelled
year? Which is about 14 years old, isn't it?
For bullying. Because I thought some girls were picking on me, and I went and did them all in, so I got expelled for bullying. Though I felt like the victim. Not being an addict, but yeah, I felt like the victim. And I remember my family life was absolutely shattered by then. I remember I just basically said, fuck you, I don't care. I remember the teacher called me in, Mr. Tiffany, I think his name was, and he went, I'm telling your dad. And I was like, ring him, he don't care. And he rang my dad, and my dad was like, I don't care. So that was just the green light for me.
And did you feel that there wasn't any care towards you and your family?
Well, I didn't care.
Yeah, but do you think that come from you didn't feel anybody cared for you? So all that stuff happening in your life.
I find it hard to be
cares.
disloyal to my family. I feel like, it's like disloyalty when I say that. But yeah. I mean, I've had therapy. Started therapy 4 years into recovery, going into my childhood and stuff, and I wouldn't accept any of their part in it. Whereas before I hated them all, and obviously that was built on a resentment, and now I try and have a balanced view.
Sometimes it's that people just don't feel they're being cared for. They might well be. Sometimes they're not and don't feel cared for, but
we were definitely neglected.
And I think with a lot of people that do have this problem, they can actually feel not cared for, even though their life's not that bad at all, really. But some people actually do seem to have
we were neglected.
Yeah,
we were neglected, probably emotionally. And
because they obviously never had that themselves.
My dad never had that,
no, and my
mum had an awful, horrific childhood.
They're still struggling.
Yeah.
So they just didn't have it to give, but that still doesn't help your plight.
And it still didn't mean they didn't love me.
No, of course they love. They're just not good at projecting it or create an environment to allow that. So that you've grown up, a bit of a wildcat.
So you're expelled from school at 14, and you're rebelling against your family because you feel that you've been neglected.
I hated them.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated them.
So it sounds like you're rebelling against your family, maybe against the school, against the world. Yeah, the system. Yeah. You're getting kicked out of school around about 14. Yeah. You then become a new age traveller. So how did that happen? I lived on
the street.
Okay, so
I grabbed a bag and said, "I'm going," to them, and I went off and I sat on the street, and this guy came that I knew, a guy that I really respected. I wanted to be, when little girls, they say they imagine getting married and having a husband and having kids. I used to imagine being in big gangs and fights and stuff like that. That's kind of what I used to imagine doing.
And having stinky air in a caravan.
Yeah.
Was that part of the dream?
Not really, no.
It just happened, didn't it?
Yeah, I was just part of the process. No, yeah. So this guy took me on anyway. He was the hardest guy in town. Everyone was scared of him, and he basically gave me some weapons and said, "Go and beat this person up. Go and beat that person up." And there's an ounce of speed, and there's a squat next to some prostitutes. I'll look after you. And that's basically where I stayed for a few years. But obviously my using and the violence, I had to run from the police when I was, I think, 16. I had an ounce of speed, scales. I wasn't very good at this. I had everything in my bag, about 50 trips. And I had to run from the police, and then I didn't know where to put it, so I just tried to bury it around the back of Quick Save, but I couldn't, and I could hear so I just took it all. And I think that was the first time I OD'd. At a club. I ended up at a club and I OD'd, but I was well deluded because they took a picture of me in the toilet and I was frothing at the mouth, and I was in the toilet and they took a picture of me, and I remember them taking the picture of me being "Oh my god, I look so hot." And then a few months later it was in a magazine saying "Say no to drugs," and it was me with all froth coming out of my mouth and shit. So yeah, it just progressed. Obviously, it just progressed. I was living on the street, selling the big issues, had my dog. I think I ended up in Nottingham. I'm not sure how. I think I went to get some big issues. I know that's it. I went to does anyone remember Chumbawamba? Went to a Chumbawamba gig, I think. I'd been to pick up some big issues, then we went to a Chumbawamba gig, and then I found a squat and I just stayed. I literally just walked in the squat and said, "Hi, I'm Hannah. Don't fuck with my dog. Don't fuck with my saxophone," because I had a saxophone. And "don't fuck with my bike. I'm moving in." And I stayed there.
How old were you?
17, I think.
17.
Yeah. And it was that year that I started taking heroin. Because I
started on heroin at 17.
Yeah, I had an episode when I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what drug I was coming off or what started the psychosis, but I had an episode of severe psychosis when I was I think it lasted 3 days, and my mum was coming to visit me, and she actually found me surrounded by police and psychiatrists because I laid in front of the train track proclaiming I was a vampire. So I ended up back with the psychiatrists in Grimsby, and obviously after I saw the psychiatrist, went back to the squat. The psychiatrist said my brain would never form properly. I remember him saying that to my mum. My mum was, my poor mum, I laugh, but I remember sitting there still hallucinating, and my mum was going, what do you mean her brain will never form properly? Because all the substance I'd taken at such a young age, they were like saying I was fucked for life. And all I could say was, what about the monkeys? Because there was monkeys like running all around the office. I could still see them. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then I went back to my squat, and I think it was like a couple of months before I picked up gear.
Well, we're going to have to do another one to get a bit deeper into this at some point, but to keep this as a short podcast. So if you can fast forward, to what sort of brought you to your rock bottom?
My rock bottom lasted about 7 years, I think. It wasn't anything external, because externally I had more than I'd had. I had a flat, I had a boyfriend, even though I hated him. My liver was working, and I had a kind of job, like
all the essentials.
It was better than I'd ever done before.
Yeah.
But I'd had liver failure, I'd been in hospital, all sorts of shit. The list just goes on and on and on. But I just wanted to die every day. It was just then Groundhog Day.
From what age?
Probably in the last 7 years of my using. My last 7.
So you came into treatment at what age?
34.
So from about the age of 27, you wanted to die every day?
Yeah. Yeah. I did die quite a few times.
Because them 7 years were just full of self-abuse and craziness.
Yeah, I've had loads of ODs.
What, deliberate ODs as well?
Not caring.
Yeah, not caring.
Not giving a fuck. And knowing what might happen, Being disappointed when the ambulance woke me up. But the last 4 years were the worst. It was just horrific. I mean, I tried to hang myself, but I was too fat and the rope snapped.
Had you been in every... Well, that was lucky then, Have you been in any treatment programs or...
I think I went somewhere in Nottingham. I thought it was a detox place, but I've recently been told that it was a bit of a psychiatric unit.
Right, yeah.
But I just jumped out the window and went and got some methadone and scored, and then went back in.
So you weren't really doing anything to try and change?
I didn't know.
You didn't know?
I wanted normal.
So what actually then sort of made you wake up one day and think, right, I've got to sort myself out?
Those last 3 years, I just wanted to... honestly, it was horrific. I can't put it into words how horrific my life was. There was nothing. But still,
something's gone. I need to get help.
Yeah.
What was that?
I wanted help for a long time. I had CBT, and obviously I was on methadone. I was on a maintenance script.
So let's just... Who gave you the CBT? So in other words, who was helping you? Where did you seek help from?
Back then, it was called the DDU, and it was in Cambridge.
And they were like a government agency. Okay, so they were like a local agency.
Yeah.
So you went to them asking for help? Well,
they was my scripters, so I was with them on methadone.
Are you on a script? How long were you on a script for?
They wouldn't put me on methadone until I was 18, so from the age of 18 till I came into treatment.
Which was 30... No, how old?
34.
So you were using methadone the whole of your using, pretty much?
Yeah.
For nearly 16 years, methadone?
Yeah. I was on a maintenance script. I was on 100 ml a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How'd that go?
Came in handy when there was a drought, because I used to store it.
We already know how it went, didn't it?
I'll tell you what, I know it went, but it got me through college, because I actually went through college in my addiction as well and got a national diploma in animal science. So I did that while smoking crack, injecting heroin and taking methadone.
Yeah.
It just made it a little bit easier to do all that. But that's all it did.
And so, how did you end up in treatment?
Begging, really. begging for help from them, and they said about this rehab.
This was inclusion in Cambridge.
Yeah. I knew that there was no way I could there's no way I could do anything on my own.
Yeah.
I tried all sorts of shit, but I knew that I needed help. I just knew I needed to be away from it all, and that's all I knew really. They said that you've got to do a 12-week pre-rehab.
Yeah.
They started with about 20 of us, and I was the only one who completed it. I went every day to that rehab group, smoking crack and injecting in the toilets, but I was there.
Yeah.
I was present every day. They sent me to an AA meeting, and I remember walking in with my bottle of vodka, sitting down, and there was this girl going, well, 20 years ago when I was on the streets in London, and I thought, for fuck's sake, why are you still talking about it? And then I said, is this anonymous? And they said, yes. And I was like, cool. And I left, because I then could just lie to the rehab and say I've been, because it's anonymous. And then, I had to write my life story. And then they rung me up and said, Hannah, you need to pull your finger out. You need to choose a rehab, like today. So I went to the library and I looked at all the rehabs, and my thought process was, that one's got a gym. Good. That one's got boys. Good. I'm not sure about that God shit, though. All right, I can go to that one. We'll just ignore the God shit. And that's how I ended up here at ECR.
And so how was your journey? How long was you in rehab for?
9 months.
And how was your journey through that? What was it like when you first got here?
Scary, but just better.
Yeah.
Like, it was, to be fair, it was easy compared to the first year. I mean, I remember being challenged about stuff that I remember you saying you're trying to manipulate. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue. How I look back at how I would behaved, and it was crazy.
And so what do you think were like the important things that you learned that you didn't know before that allowed you to change?
My thinking. The step 4. I wouldn't say I had any sort of, I'm not going to lie, oh God moment, but I saw the truth when I did that. I saw the truth, and I think I changed quite quickly after that. And I became quite grateful. Grateful for my...
Because you see there was a chance at another life for you.
Yeah, and then I was like buzzing for the first year. Like that pink cloud of like, hey, I'm not on the streets anymore, and yeah. But it hasn't been... Things are harder to deal with without substance, aren't they? Real emotions. I've had to learn how to deal with all that stuff. I mean, I didn't cry for 2 years. I could never cry. It took me 2 years to shed a tear. So yeah, it's the two main... I think, obviously, personal responsibility is massive for me. Motives, massive. And the learning about myself. Learning what I like, what I don't like. I didn't know what my favourite colour was. I didn't know anything. And I've had to go out and do stuff, and stuff that I thought I liked, I've gone and done. I thought, fuck that shit. I didn't say the C word, did I? No. So there's stuff, I thought I wanted to work with animals, and I went to Africa Alive and volunteered, and I hated it. I hated the smell of shit. So, yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And like, in my little deluded mind, all through my addiction, it was like, it would all be okay if I was a vet. But yeah, I had to experience things, try them, and then obviously I got into the boxing.
How long have you been in recovery now?
6 years in April. So 5 and a bit years.
It's not all easy, is it?
Fuck no. Oh no. No, it's not. No, I've had some real harder things that I've dealt with in the past that have happened to me. Obviously didn't really happen to me, did they? Because I was full of substance. So the trauma really didn't affect me. But things that happened to me in recovery affect me like a human being. Like I wasn't human before. And it's like being a child with the only life skills that I've learned, which is the 12 steps. It's like a grown-up child, and that's an instructions for your life. And then you have to use them as tools when things happen.
And I guess the people around you that support you and
loads of support. My family, like I've got my family back. My dad, my mum, they're my stepbrothers, my brother. Got a great set of friends outside of recovery.
But you've also always had recovery buddies that are there for you.
That's the biggest thing in my life.
And you for them. And
yeah, biggest thing.
Do you think it'd be possible to get where you are without that support?
No way.
Do you still need a lot of support? Probably not as much.
Not as much.
But
do you know what it's like? It's like I've got a group of girlfriends who are all in recovery, and I don't know where I'd be without them.
Yeah.
That's how much it...
I think that's one of the things people kind of miss. You know, they're going about AA and the 12 steps and God and this, that and the other, and it's not the only way, blah, blah, blah. But I think the bit that's unequalled is the fellowship.
Yeah.
That most of us wouldn't make it without. It's not about the therapists, it's not about the professionals,
no.
It's about them friends that are on the other end of the phone when your head's gone west.
Oh, yeah.
And the hounds of addiction are barking at you.
I couldn't do without
them. You've always got... I mean, it's like this. If you need to phone someone up, when can you do that?
Always.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 300. There's always someone there for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's unequalled.
Yeah.
I think that's...
It's massive. And we all tell each other, you know, like, stop feeding into that, and that, you know, we're quite open with each other, and but I've got a lot of normal friends that actually do think the same as what we think. It just turns out they act differently, they react differently to it. But yeah, those recovery friends.
Yeah.
So you don't believe there's any way you could have done your recovery in the community?
Not a fucking chance. Not a chance. No way. Not a chance. Not a chance.
So do you think that initial being in such a closed environment where you're being held accountable 24 hours a day, because I mean you were really neurotic for a lot of, for years.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying.
But you kind of needed, again, people to keep grounding you out constantly, didn't you? Just bringing your head back.
Yeah, like... I've had like a lot of friends that I've lost in recovery, not lost like dead, well there's a few, but lost to the madness, you know. But when they were good friends, they showed me like unconditional love, like things like that, and that's what my friends now show me and what I try to show them back. That's something that I've never had in my life.
Yeah. And you learn to beat people up legally.
Yeah, that's quite bonus. But the friend part and the understanding, like the minds alike sort of thing.
Yeah,
you couldn't get that. I couldn't get that anywhere. I could not do what I do today if I hadn't gone through this process. No way. And
just so for people listening as well, you've been in recovery now 6 years.
Nearly 6 years.
So how long ago is it since you actually left treatment?
Oh,
like 5 and a bit then.
Yeah.
5 and a bit years. So you left treatment, right?
Yes.
So you're in recovery. What's the first thing that you done? As in, because you started going to college and stuff like that, didn't you? Or didn't you do some education?
I went to the gym first.
So you went to the gym. So that's what I'm saying. So for people listening, talk us through what you now done in your recovery.
That was fat Hannah though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was really fat. I went... I always had an interest in... I did Savate when I was using, which is a French martial art. Even though I was on whiskey and methadone, I still did it. And I always had an interest in that. But my motives back then were kind of like boys and hard fit boys, and me being really hardcore. So I went to a kickboxing club. And I loved it. But then I got introduced to a boxing club. And it was like being at home. And then I just loved it, everything about it, the hard work. It's not what people think. You know, I was shocked. How do you say camaraderie?
Camaraderie, yeah.
All that sort of stuff, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that impressed me about you was how much actual hard work you put in. It wasn't like you just went to the gym 3 days a week.
No.
I mean, I can't actually think of anyone else who's come out of recovery and has put that much work into...
I'm really, really fucking fit.
Yeah, that kind of overtook your life, didn't it?
Yeah.
Boxing.
Yeah. It did for a bit. It was obsessional for a bit, which is cool. You know, I think that's cool as long as, I've come out of that. And then that filled my life for a bit, but then I needed a little bit more. I wanted to think about work, so I did my MVQs. A little bit about my future.
Yeah, it's not just like not drinking, not using, going to AA meetings. It's about getting on with other areas of your life as well.
I'm 40,
and filling that.
That's the bit I want to get to.
I'm 40, and I don't regret. Try not to regret anything because I think it's all meant to be for some purpose. But I'm 40, and I remember having a conversation with my mum, and I said, "Mum, what?" The amends conversation, everything. What should I do? And she went, "I want you to be happy. I want you to go and fucking live the life that you haven't lived." And I also remember someone saying to me, early on in treatment, I said, I don't even know who I fucking am anymore. And someone who I used to speak to a lot with a lot of recovery said to me, you can be whoever you want to be. And that floored me. It fucking floored me. And I think that's the hardest part, well, it is for me, learning what I want.
Yeah, because you're not a slave. You're not a slave anymore. You're
choice.
You're a free person that can make choices and
take the responsibility
and follow
for my
through
choices.
with it.
Yeah,
you've got that mental capacity to do that.
Yeah.
Now.
So you've done a lot of NVQ training.
Yeah.
Done an awful lot of boxing.
Yeah.
Where do you work at the moment?
East Coast Recovery.
Doing what?
I do domestic cleaning and
support
with the clients.
What do you do with the gym? Because I understand you also started to train some people now, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
You also...
Got someone from here.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping to get fighting very soon.
So you're now becoming a boxing trainer, a coach, yeah?
I love it.
And also, what day did you happen to win a title fight?
Was it this Saturday?
Saturday just gone, wasn't it?
Saturday.
What title was it?
I can't remember the name of it. I think it was something middle, maybe super middleweight, female, East Coast something. It's got to get printed on my belt yet.
Yeah.
So, but I had no expectations going in there on Saturday night at all, and it went well. And that's another thing. I think I expect too much of myself.
When you WhatsApp Sam on that night, that was like someone that was in our house. That was like someone who won the World Cup. We done a Mexican roll, all two of us.
She sent me a text like as I was like pre-nerved, like wanting to kill myself. I honestly, I was having my hand wraps done, and this like ex-pro boxer Danny was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was going, I want to die. But it's like, he was like, it's normal, nerves keep you. And then obviously I messaged Sammy, she was like, accept them, they're there for a reason. And that really helped. And by the time I went out there, the energy in the crowd, because they're all there for you, everyone is like, yay, and you can feel the energy.
So now look, listen, I'm just watching you now. You're lit up, totally lit up. Now think about that girl who's back in that crack heroin addiction. Can you believe what's happened to you over the last 6 years?
No. Not in my wildest dream. No, and I do have to remind myself though where I came from. It's easy to forget and get into the mundane little problems of life, finance and I do have to. I do that. I look at photos. I do that sometimes. Some people might see it as, I don't know, remorseful, but I do have to remind myself that. Because where I'm from now and like here, it's just mad. It's two different lives. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do that. It's part of sometimes my awakenings, my morning process.
I've got a funny feeling that page 83 is about to get read out.
We've been doing this to people because we're trying to promote the recovery process from our point of view. So this is the promises from the 12-step Alcoholics Anonymous book. It says, if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity. We will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And these extravagant promises. Now, these are the promises that it says if you work this 12-step program, you can expect this to happen in your life.
Yes.
Would you say that's happened in your life?
Yes, I would, yeah. But I'd also say that a few of them slip back in now and again, and I have to keep a check on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that whole, I walk around like that.
No, but this is a recipe. This is a recipe for drug treatment and addiction treatment, and your addiction is getting treated on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And you're developing, but you have been set free.
Yeah.
From chemical addiction.
Yeah.
To live in a pretty decent life. Yeah. Achieving some of your goals and dreams. Yeah. Which would have been impossible.
Well, I think it's quite remarkable as well, because you were saying 6 years ago you were the only one out of 20 people that ended up doing the pre-rehab groups, right? But you were still using crack and heroin at the time. Yeah. You were still on the methadone script.
Yeah.
So I think just being sat here, Lester and me sat here with you today, after you've just won your title fight as well, you haven't used since. No. And things have been difficult for you. You and me, you've spoke to me on various occasions, which is confidential. Yeah. But I know things have been difficult for you. But when I listen to Lester read out those promises, even though you said there, well, yeah, but things have been a little bit tough. The way you've done your program, and the fact you're sitting here today and you haven't used. Yeah. I mean, it's just a miracle.
Magnalia, you're perfect.
Yeah.
Fucking perfection's bullshit. Let me tell you that now. That is bullshit.
But you've progressed.
Yes.
And that's what it says. We claim spiritual progress rather than perfection.
Yeah.
And one of the final things I just want to say here as well is that you mentioned about 5 minutes ago that you said you got your family back in your life. Now, that was interesting because you started by saying that you felt that the family, there was neglect there.
Yeah.
So when you say you got your family back in your life, is your relationship with your family better than it's ever been?
Yeah.
What's caused that?
Forgiveness.
From who?
Me. How dare I judge them when you look at my behaviour in the past 22 years?
Wow.
And love, I suppose. Oh, they do my fucking head in. Don't get me wrong, my mum especially. I love her. But, my dad, I used to blame him I love my dad to bits. He's crazy, I love him. He had a hard time. Isn't that
beautiful? You got your family back. You got some beautiful friends.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful life at the moment.
Yeah.
Just come back from scuba diving as well.
Yes.
Loads of trophies you can see on our website if you go on there. On the Facebook.
Egypt next. I guess at the minute I'm trying to decide whether I want to do some sort of college or anything. I don't know anything's possible. But I am impulsive.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing sometimes. But it's just future, isn't it? I don't know. Like anything, I suppose. Do have that thing that though, you're 40, aren't you, Hannah? You're 40. It's all over now.
Tell it to shut up. You're doing all right. You're doing all right.
You're 40, you've only got 10 years left. Yeah, just it's what's next, but I know something will come.
It certainly will.
Yeah.
Look, I think we're going to keep this short. It's gone on a little bit longer than we anticipated, but I'm sure there's a lot more that you've got to talk about, so we'll have to come get you back for a longer version, a more detailed chat.
Did it go better than you thought? Because you were really nervous before you said.
Always really nervous.
But did it go better than you thought?
Yes.
It did, didn't it?
Like most things do.
Yeah. Yes.
Fear's a liar.
Yes.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank
we love you.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. We're so proud of you winning your boxing, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Okay, do you want the website?
Oh yeah, if you do have anybody that you feel that we may be able to help at East Coast Recovery, you can check out our website at
www.eastcoastrecovery.co.uk.
And thanks for listening, everybody. God bless.
He can't remember it yet. See you later, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recovery Evolution, the recovery revolution. Keep an open mind.